Set a fire in your heart, Spartan. Bare your fangs. Fight hard. Die well.
How's it going, everyone? Hope you're all having a great day so far. Wraith here with a breakdown on the Halo Infinite demo that was shown recently, and wow, it was actually pretty good. There are some great things I want to talk about, along with some issues I have with it. Before I get going, I always like to say thank you for the continued support on the channel. If you're new here and love the content, then be sure to subscribe and set up notifications to stay up to date with everything on the channel. As we get closer to Halo Infinite, I'll be covering it on this channel as I am a Halo fan like most of you. Mostly I cover games like Doom, but Halo means a lot to me as well. Okay, let's get started. The Halo games have been around for many years and actually got a lot of people into first-person shooters. I, for one, definitely got into it at an early age, when it first came out on the original Xbox. In fact, that was really the main reason I got an Xbox, was to play Halo. And then, of course, as the other games came out, like Halo 2, Halo 3, and all the other ones, those ones especially got everyone into more of the multiplayer scene, along with like the Call of Duties and whatnot. But of course, now with Halo 5 being released several years ago, we've had some time where we haven't had a Halo game in a while. And now with Halo Infinite, we finally got to see a little bit of gameplay to get an idea of how it runs, what it looks like, and it definitely looks really good. As far as what we've seen so far before, like we've only had like a teaser kind of showing a little bit of the game engine, and that was just kind of a little teaser to hold us off for a little while. But now with this gameplay, it really shows a lot more of what we can expect. Of course, one thing I wanted to point out is definitely the graphics. As far as I can see, they look really good. There's a lot more detail, especially on Master Chief's armor, the environment, and it's just overall, just the gameplay just looks a lot more buttery smooth than in previous titles. Other things to notice, of course, are the enemies. Now, we do see that we're pretty much fighting the Covenant, which isn't the Covenant, it's the Banished. And in this case, though, we do see so far that there are elites, grunts, jackals, and brutes. We haven't seen anybody else like the hunters or the drones or any other new enemies. So we'll definitely see a little bit more into that. One other thing too, of course, with the AI, they definitely seem to operate about the same as they have done in previous titles, except for, of course, that grunt flying in the air. So I guess grunts that are killing themselves fly in the air now, I guess that's where we're at now. Other things to point out, of course, is the Warthog. Well, pretty much looks about the same as it has from Halo 4 and 5, and but it does seem to handle a little bit better. I think that was one thing I didn't really like about the Warthog in some of the older titles, is that it felt really weird to drive, a little janky. But with this one here, it seems like it interacts with the environment a little bit better. But as far as with the map, I think that is one big thing that we have all noticed so far with the demo, is that it looks like it's an open world shooter. This is definitely something really new to the Halo franchise, as most of them have just been really contained levels. But now with this one, as we can see that when he opens up the map on the demo, so you have different waypoints and different places that you need to go, as far as probably side missions and story missions, maybe even other type of missions we don't know about yet. Of course, there are something at the very top where it shows upgrades, so there's a lot of speculation on that, where it could be based on what type of equipment he could use, or maybe some upgrades to your weapons or even vehicles. Also, this says that there's a database, so I'm assuming that that's something like a codex, and I think that'll be great, because in all the other previous titles we haven't had any type of a codex, and I would really enjoy having that to dive a little bit more into the lore behind each race of the Banished, so like the brutes, the elites, and of course most Halo fans kind of already know all that stuff, but this game is to introduce a lot of new players to the franchise. So I think a lot of people that are new to Halo, this would be great, just like how Doom Eternal had its own codex, a kind of a bestiary where you can discover a lot about the demons and their weaknesses and strengths. So with this could act the same way, along with kind of giving a little more background on the story as well, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. Another thing to talk about are the weapons. Now, of course, we do have the assault rifle, which is, the first thing we've noticed from the box art that we saw a couple days ago. And with this one is actually the Reach version, which is interesting because how this game is a continuation of Halo 5, that you would think the assault rifle would be at least what it looked like from Halo 5 or newer. So it looks exactly like the Reach version, and it even sounds pretty similar to that one, along with the one it sounded like in Halo 5. So it's a little weird how they have that old version. There might be a little bit more of a backstory to it, I hope so, rather than just saying, here it is, you know? So I guess we'll find out a little bit more on that one. Another weapon that we've noticed was the pistol. Now here's one gripe that I have with the pistol so far, is that this one doesn't look anything like the original pistol that we have known throughout most of the Halo games. This one actually looks more like the pistol from Halo 2, which honestly was crap, and nobody ever used it. Unless of course you were dual wielding, but this one here just it doesn't make any sense considering this is set into the future, so you would think that of course there'd be a newer version of what the Magnum looked like. This one, it looks kind of more like a Glock, if anything. If for those who know much about guns, as you can kind of see, it kind of has that blocky look to it, and it has the serrations in the back of the slide. But other than that, yeah, that's just the one gripe that I had mostly was the pistol, just how basic it looked. Now, of course, keep in mind, this is still early gameplay. This is just a demo, so they could always revamp the pistol or even replace it with something else. That is very possible. One other thing that I noticed, which is interesting, was what looked to be a DMR rifle of some kind, but it looked like it was automatic. Now, it only had 20 rounds in the magazine, and as far as watching the gameplay, it looked like it was automatic. But at least the look of it looks like the DMR that we've seen from previous titles. Now, other guns that we have seen throughout the demo are definitely a lot different. This time around is the Brute plasma rifle, but this one, of course, you could totally tell like this is the Brute plasma rifle, at least the reimagining of it. And with this one here, it's like, of course, it still shoots the red plasma, and it has that aggressive look that Brutes would use, so it makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad that they did that, because in Halo 2, it was just basically reskin of the plasma rifle with higher rate of fire, and of course a little bit stronger than the plasma rifle. Even now going on with the plasma rifle, this one does look pretty similar to the one that we've seen in Halo 4 and 5, and acts about the same as well. Now, other ones here we have is the Brute shotgun, which looks like they're bringing back from Halo 2. Now, of course, this one's slightly different, of course, as far as what I've noticed, is that it looks like it's more of a slug type of a shotgun shell, because as you can tell within the gameplay, he's actually aiming it far away, and he's aiming it more at the head, rather than, what it used to be is just kind of a more like a buckshot type of a thing. Of course, there is the shotgun that we could see. Now, this one here seems like it has like a drum magazine, so I don't know. With shotguns in Halo, they seem to almost be getting worse as far as design. This one does look pretty cool though. Like, as far as my favorite ones were from like Reach and Halo, I think it was Halo 2. 2 or 3 is the other ones that look pretty cool. Anyway, this shotgun does seem to work pretty good and function pretty well. And of course, the other guns that we haven't seen yet in action was the plasma pistol. Of course, you can see it being used by the grunts, but the Master Chief didn't pick it up and use it. And then of course, there's plenty of other guns that we haven't seen yet. Of course, that we could still have the SMG, the rocket launcher, field rod cannon, things like that. So we'll see what happens in those ones, since they are obviously new designs and whatnot. So I'm really excited to see what they look like. And then of course now we have the equipment, which has the energy shield, and this one actually looks really good as far as compared to other Halo titles. And then of course we do have the grapple. Now of course this is something that was speculated real quickly on the box art that a lot of people have seen, and it actually works pretty well. So of course we know that it can attach pretty much to anything, and doesn't seem like there's any limitations to it, as we could just see in the demo that he shot it at the metal bar that's up above him, and then he was able to hit the Brute to bring it up closer to him, and then also attach it to that fusion coil of some sort, and then throw it at the shade turret. The mechanics of the game, it seems like obviously we still have running involved, so this one's going to be a little bit more fast-paced, and it makes sense to have running. If this is going to be an open world shooter, you definitely want to be able to traverse the map a little bit quicker. I think if it was like Halo 1, for instance, like how slow that was, oh man, it would take a long time to get anywhere if you didn't have any type of running or even the grapple. Even if you didn't have any vehicles, though, that'd be annoying.
2 hours later.
Anyway, moving on now, of course, with the environment, there's a lot of other things that I've noticed. Of course, we have the brutes that are able to come down on drop pods now. So instead of it just being elites, now we do have the brutes. And with their drop pods, it looks like they're actually destructible. As you know, in the demo, we see the plasma grenade sticking to the brute. It actually exploded, well, at least damaged the drop pod, and then of course made it combust and then destroy itself along with the other drop pod. So that's actually pretty cool. So that means there may be a little bit more of environmental destruction on a different scale within this game. So I guess we'll see what happens there. Other things, of course, with the environment is that, you know, obviously with the scenery, we know we're on a new Halo. As we can see, like, it looks like it's either a Halo that's being built recently, because it doesn't seem like it's finished. So this may be either a completely new Halo, it could be a Halo that's very similar to the one that was found on the Ark. So with this new Halo, I really hope it will be expanded upon within the story, obviously. Other things, of course, is that we see that there's some crashed UNSC ships and Pelicans, and of course new Phantoms as well. I don't know if I really like the look of the new Phantoms, but of course it is changing things up and at least making it look a little bit different, since this is a reboot for the most part. Now, of course, coming to the story, like I mentioned, we know that this is a continuation of Halo 5. So leaving off from the ending of Halo 5, we know that Cortana was basically evil, I guess you could say, or corrupt, as we know from like the ending of like Halo 4. She was, I mean, within the Halo 4, her system was kind of going corrupt, and then towards Halo 5 is where she was a little more corrupt and, you know, activating the Guardians and whatnot. So at the end of Halo 5, we know that the UNSC Infinity was able to escape, and then of course the Guardian that came into the orbit of Earth activated what looked to be an EMP of some kind. And so with that happening, I'm sure Cortana would have done this and other colonies or whatnot. And so that might have been kind of a start of this new war, because with this being, you know, so far into the future, everybody's so dependent on technology that with this EMP shutting down pretty much everything, that would definitely create chaos everywhere. So there must have been like more of these civil wars or just riots everywhere. So this would be, I would say, the reason why, where it says at the very beginning where the war has been lost. And of course, we do realize that the Banished are obviously the ones that are the main antagonists of this story so far that we know of. And of course, being on Halo, there might even still be Guardians or Forerunners. The main antagonist, at least as far as in this demo, it doesn't say his name, but I was doing some research on the waypoint, on Halo Waypoint, and it seems that his name is Echarum. And with him, he does mention a few things within his little speech right there to Master Chief. He does mention that the Harbinger and the Banished have the same goal. So we know who the Banished are, but the Harbinger, that's still something we don't know of. Unless I, don't know. If you guys know who it is, definitely let me know. He does mention something about the auditorium. It could be something kind of like the library or the Ark, some type of meaning that is very important to the story. And of course, like I've already mentioned, we're already on a new Halo ring. So with the auditorium, maybe something at least across the lines of activating the Halo rings. So that may be a really big part of the story. But other than that, that is my breakdown of Halo Infinite. There was a lot of things that were covered, or at least shown to us in this demo, and that's just scratching the surface. For this being an open world shooter, there's going to be a lot more things that we can find out about. We haven't even seen multiplayer yet. They might have some type of firefight. Honestly, with this being open world, I know I've seen rumors of people thinking that there might be some kind of Warzone or Battle Royale type of thing. Hopefully it doesn't have that, but as we've seen with the trends and everything nowadays with new games, that might be possible. But of course, there's still a lot more that we don't know about, especially with the story. But as far as this goes, I really enjoyed this demo, and I really want to continue talking about Halo Infinite. So if you like what you saw here, definitely be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video so we can get it out there more. And check out my social media accounts at RipNtear Gaming to stay up to date with other things over there. Till next time, guys, don't forget to rip and tear. Peace.